Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordyn and welcome to today's video, which is a book of the month reading vlog. If you are new to my channel, this is a series I do just to stay on top of my book of the month books. I'm not sponsored by Book of the Month. I'm just a regular old paying member, but I really enjoy the service and I enjoy providing reviews of the books that I pick in case any of you are also members and you're considering picking these books or adding them onto future boxes. Or if you're not members, you can also just use these as regular reviews to decide whether or not you want to try these books out. It has been a little while since I've done a book of the month vlog for a couple of reasons. I have skipped a couple of the past months because I wasn't interested in any of the picks. Also, I think my last box, I had a couple of books that I just read for other videos or projects, so I didn't include them specifically in a dedicated vlog. But this month in August, I did get 3 books in my box. So I'm excited to be back in my groove, to have some books to read and talk about. So let's talk about the books that I picked for August. We will start with my main pick, which is a thriller and is a new release that I've heard some really good reviews for. It's None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I have read, I think, only one other Lisa Jewell book in the past. I read The Family Upstairs. I didn't love it, but it's also not really the type of thriller that I typically enjoy. This sounds a little bit more up my alley. I believe this is about a podcast host who has a female guest on her podcast, and they're talking and then somehow they get involved in their own crime or something that they end up talking about on their podcast. I don't know the details, but like I said, I've heard good things so far, so excited to try this out and give Lisa Jewell another chance. Then in August, there was a thriller add-on that I was super excited about, so I really quickly added it to my box. It's Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister. This author wrote Wrong Place, Wrong Time last year, which was one of my favorite books of last year. That was a really cool mystery told backwards with this main character traveling backwards in time. I don't know the details about what this book is about. I don't think it has a sci-fi element like that one kind of did. But based on that book, I am excited to try more by this author. She has more of a backlist, but I thought I would try out her newest release before going back to try those other books that she's written. And then the third book that I will be reading in this vlog is not a thriller, but it is a contemporary romance. Another anticipated release from an author that I've enjoyed in the past, Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. I believe this is another STEMinist rom-com following a female main character in the STEM industry, which I love. I love women in STEM. I work in a STEM field, and I really liked Love on the Brain, and I really did not like The Love Hypothesis, which I think is backwards from people's typical opinions, but I also read them in the backwards order that they were published. So maybe that had something to do with it, and I was a little bit over the STEM tropes by that point. I don't know. All that to say, I'm going into this one with an open mind. I haven't really seen much for reviews on this book yet, so I want to try it out. I don't know really anything about the specifics of the plot, but I will let you know once I start it a little bit more what it's about. So those are the books that I will be reading in this video. I am going to go ahead and get started. I think I can get access to all of them on audio, so that will really help me fly through them. Otherwise, this is going to be a pretty typical week in my life. We don't have too much going on, just family stuff, continuing to clean and organize our new house. I did also get sent a product from a company to try out a little bit later in this vlog to potentially do a longer term partnership with in the future. So I'll be trying that out. But for now, I have some work to get done. Today is Monday. I've had numerous meetings already, but now it's time to get to work. The first thing I have to do is actually work on an expense report. I went on a work trip about a month ago and I have to submit all of those receipts, which is going to be tedious. So it sounds like the perfect time to pop on an audiobook, do that. I will come back once I have started one of these books to give you some of my initial thoughts and the premise. So see you then.
I know it's nothing new. It's so good to see you. We do this every day, and I'm still so amazed by you. So hold me tight through the night. It's just us two, me and you.
Okay, it's a little bit later, same day. I have some updates. First of all, let's talk about what you just saw me doing. A couple of weeks ago, a company reached out to me asking if I would like to try their water flosser, which is something I've heard of but never tried before. I am a teeth flosser, but not a very consistent teeth flosser. So I was interested. The company is called Seajoy. This is the water flosser that they sent me. It is adorable and purple. And what you just saw was me trying it for the first time. And honestly, it was pretty easy. I do think it's going to take a little while to fully get the hang of like doing it correctly, making sure I'm actually getting my teeth cleaner, directing the water back into the sink. But so far so good. And I wanted to talk a little bit about what it actually does, what it is, and also what this package came with. So first of all, it obviously comes with this like base unit, which has the tank for water, which is very easy to fill up. It also came with this like carrying bag, which is big enough to fit this inside, plus all of the attachments. Basically, this package that I got comes with 8 nozzles. 5 of them are the same. They're just like the standard, what does it call it? Standard jet tip. And then it also comes with one that is a tongue cleaner, one that is a periodontal tip, and one orthodontic tip. I don't know what these other tips do. I'm gonna have to do some research, but I just tried out the standard one when I was testing it out and it seemed pretty easy. They just pop in here and you can rotate it. Whoa, stop. Just sprayed water all over my whole office. That was not what I was trying to do. I was trying to undo it because you can rotate it. Oh, you don't even have to undo it. Okay, I was trying to show that you can rotate it 360 degrees and I accidentally pushed the on button. Wow, that was a blooper. Okay, anyway, you can also toggle between 5 different modes. I think that changes like the water pressure and stuff. It is obviously waterproof, easy to use, I would say, and you can use it to remove food scraps after eating, improve your gum health, and brighten your teeth. So if you are interested in getting yourself a water flosser and we can be dental hygiene buddies, I will have a link to the product down in my description box, and you can also use this code on your order to get 20% off. So thank you, Seajoy, for sponsoring this video, for providing me with a water flosser. I am excited to continue using it. Okay, now let's talk about this waterlogged book. Just kidding, there's just a couple drops. But I did go ahead and start None of This Is True. I figured I wanted to split up the 2 thrillers, so I'm gonna read this one first. I'm gonna read Love Theoretically second, and then Just Another Missing Person third. This book I am only 17% into. I do have the audio on script that I'm listening to, and this is following 2 women named Alex and Josie. Alex is a true crime podcast host, and one day she's at a bar celebrating her 45th birthday when someone walks up to her and is like, "Hey, I'm your birthday twin. I'm also turning 45 years old today." And that person is Josie. So that's like their first meeting, it's fine. And then a couple days later, Josie runs into Alex again and says, "Hey, I started listening to your podcast and I think I have a story that you're gonna wanna hear." They also live in the same area in London, and they were born at the same exact hospital, which I'm guessing is going to be important later. So Josie asks, "Will you interview me for your podcast?" They set it up, and then I am just at like this first podcast recording. Alex is basically asking Josie about like her birth story, her family life, and I'm guessing Josie is going to continue telling her life story and interesting things are going to come up. So far, nothing like thrillery or suspenseful has happened. We do also get excerpts of the podcast, and the audiobook is well done in that way, in that it does sound like a podcast that you're listening to within the book. So I'm liking it, my mind is open, I'm interested to keep reading this book to find out what more these 2 women have in common and what else happens. So I'm planning on getting on with the rest of my day today. If this gets really twisty and I don't want to say any more without spoiling the book, I may wait until I'm done with it to give you my final thoughts. But if I have more of a midway update, then I will go ahead and hop on and give you that as well. So what I'm saying is I'll see you when I see you with my next update.
Ends. Let's be more than friends. Yeah. You know I'm here to stay every single day. Yeah.
All right, I am back with some updates. First things first, I finished none of this is true. And I'm a little conflicted about it, honestly. I did enjoy the reading experience of this one. I was interested in the story and the mystery. And for most of this, I was thinking it felt really similar to when I read Local Woman Missing by Mary Kubica. That was just a very satisfying, fast-paced, interesting, complex, puzzle piecey type of mystery that this was feeling like it was. This is kind of twisty. There are several kind of reveals that happen throughout the book. But then at the end, I feel very unsatisfied and a little confused about what actually happened. And maybe the title, being None of This Is True, is telling me that that's supposed to be the point, is that you can't really believe anything that was told. But I like coming out of thrillers with a very firm sense of like, this is the actual story, all buttoned up nice and neat. Even if there's like a final twist that changes things, I still want to feel like I understand what happened. And for some reason, I just don't feel like that after reading this book. So that really sours my taste of it, and I think I'm gonna give it 3 stars, which is an unpopular opinion. I was looking at a bunch of Goodreads reviews for this book and people are loving it, which I'm so happy for. I'm glad people are loving it. I will also say I've never really been a big fan of the podcast trope. True crime podcasts have never been my thing, and reading about them in thrillers, I understand the appeal. It just doesn't add any value to me. So because I don't particularly like that, I also think that wasn't helping this book in my eyes, if that makes sense. But if you do like the podcast trope, I do think it was done well in this book. But yeah, I don't know, a little bit of a bummer there at the end that it all just kind of fell apart for me. It was like too many conflicting twists that, again, I just don't really know what to believe. So 3 stars, and we're moving on. The good news is that I've started Love Theoretically. I am about 30% through this one, about 116 pages. I started this book physically last night in bed, and then today I have been listening to the audiobook, and off the bat, the narrator of this audiobook I am loving. She is getting like the sassiness and the humor of this book and emoting it very well, which I appreciate. And I am just enjoying this one, which I'm really glad about, because I was worried, having enjoyed Love on the Brain, but having not enjoyed The Love Hypothesis. I was wondering how another book in this same style was gonna work for me, or if I was going to be disappointed again. But yeah, really liking it. The plot of this book is kind of funny. So we're following this main character named something, Elsie, and she is a physicist. She is an adjunct professor at a college, which she hates and also doesn't pay her bills. So on top of doing that, she also is on this app where she can be like a fake girlfriend for people. Basically, guys hire her to go to events and act like her girlfriend to their families. And she has been fake dating this guy named Greg for a few months, and she's met his family and everything. But also when she does that, she has this kind of fake persona so that, one, people don't really learn about her, so they can't really look into her, but also because it's a little bit simpler for her to explain being like a teacher or a librarian than it is to explain being a physicist to people all the time that she doesn't know. So all of that is kind of the setup. And then the inciting incident for this book is that she is applying for this new position at MIT as a physicist, and as she's going through the interview process, she realizes that the head professor of the department that she's trying to join is the brother of the guy she's been fake dating. So when she shows up, he sees her and he's like, "You're not a physicist, you're a teacher, and you're my brother's girlfriend." And she's like, "No, I'm not. I've been lying." And it's a really funny kind of miscommunication because she doesn't want to tell on the guy she's been fake dating with. She doesn't want to tell his brother that he's been lying because that's kind of embarrassing for him. But without spilling that secret, she can't explain who she really is and why she's doing that. So it's fun. Does it completely hold up as realistic? Probably not, but I am enjoying it. I'm also enjoying Ali Hazelwood's nerdy STEM humor. It's funny, I relate to it. Only a few mentions so far of her being small or medium-sized and the guy being really, really big, which doesn't annoy me as much as I know it annoys other readers. It is there, but hasn't been hitting me over the head so far. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and finish reading this one. I think I'm gonna fly through it. Like I said, the audiobook is really working for me, so I hope I continue loving it. I will be back with an update once I have finished this book to give you my final review and rating, but I'm very happy to say that so far, so good.
So hold me tight, lucky. Oh, oh, oh. Still can't believe you love me. Falling into your arms, dancing up in the stars. Oh, where I'd rather be.
Okay friends, I have a few updates and really good news. First things first, I finished Love Theoretically and I loved this book. Like I told you, I was hoping I would, but I am so happy that it lived up to my hopes and expectations. This is definitely my favorite Ali Hazelwood to date. I'm so glad that I read it near its release and I can help kind of hype it up because I think this is what she does at its best. This is definitely the nerdiest and most sciencey of her books, which she actually addresses like in her author's note. It sounds like this one is pretty personal to her, and it does include a lot of the politics that go into academia, and specifically this book centers around kind of the rivalry between like theoretical science and experimental science. Specifically, this is related to physics. And though I'm not a scientist or a physicist, I really enjoyed reading those conversations and those kind of sub-conflicts as just a STEM lover. So I loved that, and then on top of that, I really came to love these two characters. I feel like the setup for this book is not overly cheesy. It's somewhat realistic, obviously keeping in mind that it is a romance book, so there's a little bit of cheese in it, but it was a humorous, original to me concept. I loved it. I could tell that the main characters cared about each other. The STEM humor in here, it all worked for me. I'm sure it will annoy some people, and that's okay. This book does include diabetic representation as well. I do not have diabetes, nor have I read a lot of books that include diabetic representation, so I have no claim to whether it was good representation or not. Personally, I feel like it could have been included more because there were times when it was brought up and I was like, oh yeah, I completely forgot that our main female character has type 1 diabetes, and I imagine it runs through her mind way more than is mentioned in here. I also recently watched a vlog by Katie Colson, which I'll link below. She is diabetic, and I know that she specifically read a few books with diabetic representation in them. I think she read this book. I honestly can't remember her specific thoughts on it, but I would absolutely refer you to that video because she had some really, really great thoughts and commentary on diabetic representation in books and why it's so meaningful and important for her to read characters that she can relate to in that aspect, and for other people who don't have diabetes to be able to learn about that experience and understand just how constant it is in their life and how every single thing they do is through the lens of being diabetic, and it affects their actions and their thoughts pretty much at every moment in the day, which I understand from a logistical standpoint can't happen in a book. Every single sentence that the main character thinks and says, or else you would have nothing else in the book. I understand that, but again, I think even more of an inclusion in here of those thoughts would have been, I think, helpful and probably a little bit more authentic to that experience. And from what I've seen on Goodreads and in other videos, I think other people are also enjoying this one a lot. So I'm excited to see even more people read it. Hopefully more people love it. I'm sure this will make its way onto the Goodreads Choice Awards for romance, but I am very happy that this was such a win. And carrying that momentum forward, I have also started Just Another Missing Person by Gillian McAllister. I actually decided to do last minute impromptu reading sprints on my channel last night, completely spur of the moment, and I started this book and ended up getting 156 pages in, so I think I'm a little bit under halfway, and I'm really enjoying this one too. My kind of anti-reading slump is really coming in clutch this summer. I'm loving the feeling of loving what I'm reading. Basically, this is so far a fairly standard mystery thriller. The main character we're following is a female detective. She is on this missing persons case for this young woman that went missing. It's a fun kind of mystery because from CCTV footage, they can see that she walked into this dark alley, but then never came out, and there's no outlet from that alley. There are no doors or stairways or anywhere that she could have gone, and yet she seemingly disappeared. So that's fun and intriguing. And then to add a layer to this book, this detective has a daughter who did something in the fairly recent past that she has been covering for. It was a crime, and now this detective is being blackmailed by someone who knows about that crime and is threatening to expose it, turn her daughter into the police, unless she plants evidence to get somebody convicted for the murder of the case that she's trying to solve. So she basically is having to choose between her integrity as a police officer or a detective and saving her own daughter from getting arrested. So very much a how far would you go to save your own child type of story. We're also getting a couple other perspectives from other parents relevant to the case going on here. So I'm really enjoying it. I have the audio through Scribd, so I'm kind of flying through it. I'm excited to continue listening to this one through today and tonight, and hopefully finish it in the next day or so and come back to you with my final thoughts and update on this last book. All right, friends, here with my final update because I just finished Wrong Place. Nope, I just finished Just Another Missing Person. And unfortunately, this is going to land at 3 stars. The second half of this book just did not hit as hard as the first one. I was really holding out hope that it would do something really clever or surprising at the end of it. It may be unfair of me to compare this book so closely to Wrong Place, Wrong Time, but again, I was just so impressed by how that book and mystery were crafted that now I expect her to do that with every book. And this was just run-of-the-mill, pretty average. I actually found the second half of this book to be really confusing because you are learning new things about each of these characters and how they're connected, and the identities of the POVs aren't necessarily spelled out for you. So you do learning along the way, and it just kind of reached a point of like, I think I know what's going on, but I'm not 100% sure because the book isn't telling me all of the answers. I'm kind of having to infer it for myself, which some people might consider a good thing. I prefer for books, especially thrillers, to spell things out for me at the end. I like villainous monologues or things that clearly explain, here's everything that happened, here's how I got away with it, or here's the things that I misled you on earlier. And so I would have enjoyed something like that in this book, or again, just for the reveals and for everything to have been a little bit clearer. I did still enjoy it though, and again, I would recommend it as kind of a run-of-the-mill mystery thriller, which for someone who doesn't read a million of them is probably still a great mystery thriller, but a majority of the ones I read end up kind of blending together. And again, I would recommend this specifically to fans of the trope of how far will a parent go to protect their children. That's explored kind of multiple times over within this book. So glad I read it. Unfortunately not a winner. Let's recap quickly what I did read for this video. 2 3-star thrillers that I was hoping for better luck with, but in general glad to have read them and be able to maybe recommend them to someone looking for, you know, these specific tropes, podcast element, parents protecting children. And then the unexpected favorite of this video, a pleasant surprise, Love Theoretically. I'm so happy I loved this one, and I'm really enjoying seeing more reviews come out for it, even in the few days since I finished this one. It seems like people are really liking it, at least people who are set up to like Allie Hazelwood's books. I'm so glad that I read this one and loved it so much. So please let me know if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts were on them, or let me know if I've convinced you to pick any of them up. I would love to know and chat about it. I'm very much looking forward to the next round of Book of the Month drops because this last order was so successful and I was so excited about them. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.